If you don't let me beat the girls in sports, then I'm gonna hurt some people.
What's up, guys? It's Benny. Many Americans are asking, how did we get here where so many politicians are catching bullets? And, well, to answer that question, here's Chuck Schumer telling Brett Kavanaugh that if he decides to rule on a case at the Supreme Court, that he will reap the whirlwind and pay the price. Days later, Brett Kavanaugh had a left-wing killer that was stalking him and trying to break into his house with guns and knives and zip ties in order to hold Brett Kavanaugh's family hostage and kill Brett Kavanaugh. That is a matter of fact. Democrats don't want you to remember this, but it is a fact, ladies and gentlemen. Where does the radicalization come from on the left? We really need to have this conversation. It's something that the nation must look directly at. It comes from the Democrat leadership and their dehumanization campaign against the right. Statements like this. A reminder that Chuck Schumer was working with the media here. Libs on the Supreme Court leaked the decision to Politico so that they could activate their mongoloid, radicalized, suicidal base, Democrats, in order to attack a Supreme Court justice. And the man who was trying to kill Kavanaugh was trying to kill all Trump justices. That's a matter of fact. You remember, or maybe you don't, because they don't want you to remember, these massive protests outside of the house of Brett Kavanaugh. Maybe you remember that Brett Kavanaugh had to have Secret Service put outside of his house. Perhaps you remember that there were these troglodytes that would march outside of Brett Kavanaugh's house, threatening his children, his wife, in this peaceful little neighborhood. Absolute orcs doing these little walks with their masks on, absolute and totally mentally ill. Department of Justice issues sentencing memo for 2022 attempted murder of Brett Kavanaugh. Sentencing memo says that the murderer should get 30 years in prison and also that they're trans. Okay. Here we go again. The man who attempted to kill Brett Kavanaugh identifies as a transgender woman now, is deeply mentally ill and suicidal, according to documents first obtained by Daily Wire. Would you look at that? The Department of Justice is recommending that Nicholas Roski, the defendant, should be sentenced to 30 years. Roski is now transgender. Would you look at that? The revelation that Roski is transgender using female name and pronouns is significant given that transgender violence across the United States. You know, the guy who killed Charlie Kirk was living with his transgender boyfriend. Kirk's murder came only a few weeks after a 23-year-old trans-identifying gunman named Robin Westman opened fire on a Catholic school in Minneapolis, killing children. Charlie Kirk's accused killer, Tyler Robinson, was living with a 22-year-old trans-identified man named Lance Twiggs, who'd been kicked out by his family for abusing drugs, alcohol, excessive gaming, and hating Christians and conservatives. I wonder what the motive could be. I wonder if the boyfriend knew anything. Really, one of the great mysteries of all times. You know, the guy was texting him, admitting to the murder at the time, and he didn't call the cops. So why isn't he arrested? Really does make you wonder. Anyway, I'm starting to sense a bit of a trend here. It was reported in 2022 that Roski portrayed himself as a trans gamer girl on the internet. This information about the assassin's gender identity had not been made available to the public. The Biden administration hid it. They buried it. They buried it, ladies and gentlemen. Of course, they were trying to get Supreme Court justices killed. Published by Politico in May 2022 was the leak of the Supreme Court decision. After that, of course, Roski was activated. He was searching for quietest semi-auto rifle, gun calibers, best silencers for Glock 17. He was searching for do snipers aim for the head or chest? Secret Service protect Supreme Court justices? Easiest way to open a locked door? How to break glass quickly and quietly? How to make shoes quieter? And how to make handcuffs with zip ties? He was found with zip ties. On Discord, here we go, Discord again. He was asking his online friends who would assassinate Supreme Court justices to help women long term. I was thinking about the Roe decision. I feel like those 9 people make a much bigger impact than most people. The Roe v. Wade decision and gay marriage both being repealed has me furious. So he's clearly premeditated here. This was clearly a left-wing orc that had been released by the left by this operation, by this leak operation, in order to harm a Supreme Court justice. And now we know this is one more radicalized transgender would-be mass murderer against the right. Supreme Court Justice, would-be assassin identified as trans. DOJ recommends 30 years. Transgender violence is too common of a pattern here, and every freaking time. Trans terrorism is a massive problem. Not one more penny of my tax dollars spent on this scourge, ladies and gentlemen. Holy smokes. There we go. And there's the family. Always a weak man. Always the weak man. Men, be strong, please. The country needs strong men right now. Before he tried to assassinate Justice Kavanaugh, this would-be mass murderer, trans terrorist, was at a teaching job, musings of murdering his sister, taking medications for mental issues. Goodness gracious. Also planned to assassinate 3 other Supreme Court justices. I wonder who. Thanks, Chuck Schumer. Another left-wing attempted to kill for politics. The Kavanaugh assassination attempt has been completely memory hold. Look at the motive and where this guy went online for support. Discord. Naturally, exclusive, attempted Kavanaugh assassin identifies as transgender. Goodness gracious. We have a real problem. Today, U.S. Attorney's Office, District of Maryland issued a sentencing memo. Guilty plea for attempted murder of Brett Kavanaugh. The attempt against the life of Supreme Court Justice, attack on the entire judicial system cannot go unpunished. The Department of Justice condemns political violence. Prosecutors will ensure this disturbed individual faces punishment for their deranged actions. Again, Charlie Kirk's alleged assassin lived with transgender partner. Motive is unknown. This is the killer in Minneapolis, shot up the school. Multiple sources in Minneapolis. Self-identified transgender. ID'd as trans woman Robin Westman. Apparent manifesto included kill Trump. Boy, their motive is unknown. We have a real problem with this, and Republicans and law enforcement need to get very serious about it. Otherwise, it will continue. It is absolutely and beyond time for us to have an honest conversation about the patterns that are directly before us before it happens again. And that is the number one thing we're trying to prevent on this channel. Here's Fox News' coverage of this story. It's your boy, Benny.
Also breaking right now, new information in the case of the Brett Kavanaugh assassination plot from 2022. Now, this was reported at the time, but somehow escaped most of our attention. Perhaps you can remember, and perhaps you did a better job, but it's shocking to see the DOJ recommend the trans suspect in that case get at least 30 years behind bars. The suspect's legal team today says the suspect is now officially going by a female name, Sophie, and wants female pronouns used in the filings. Just another concerning entry and a trend when it comes to violence in the transgender community. We're going to